Today I'm reviewing a monitor that I've been wanting since I read about it back in summer of last year. The monitor is the Acer Predator X34, a monitor that on paper checks off just about every single feature and spec that you could possibly want. It's IPS, 1440p, curved, ultra-wide 21:9, it even has Gsync, and most importantly, it can be overclocked to 100 Hz, making this monitor the highest combination of refresh rate and resolution currently available. Well, except for Asus's equivalent monitor that is actually using the exact same panel, but that monitor looks absolutely hideous. The X34 fares a bit better in the aesthetics department, but I could definitely do without the gamer-looking Predator logo and the both impractical and cheap-looking glossy plastic on the back. The stand looks great though, and it's incredibly sturdy as well. I just wish the whole monitor was made like this, because the bezel on the bottom is this basic plastic, and my specific monitor has a quality issue on the bezel where it's warped and separated about a centimeter from the screen. Overall, the build is acceptable, and it's certainly a hell of a lot better than the alternative, but I have to question the judgment of the design team. Are there really any people out there in a position to buy a monitor at this high of a price that would be enticed by these edgy, gamer-looking designs? A monitor of this price and caliber, in my opinion, should be given a classy, high-quality build. I will admit, however, that the LED light bar underglow effect is a nice touch that's subtle enough not to annoy me. While the build could be better, the user experience with this monitor is nothing short of luxurious. I've used 27-inch 1440p before, but using ultra-wide is a completely different beast. The extra space is incredible for desktop usage, doing stuff like editing this video, hardcore web browsing, being able to see your entire song in Ableton Live, and if you really want, you could play 4 or maybe even 5 visual novels at once. Or you could even use it to torture someone and make them watch every episode of Glass Lip simultaneously. The possibilities really are endless. If you plan on doing serious work in either Photoshop or Adobe Illustrator, this might not be the best choice for you. The monitor is curved, and while it might not be as drastic a curve as some other monitors, it's curved enough to be perceivable to me when simply having a large window open. This might be something to consider if you use those programs and are doing stuff that necessitates your work being perfectly straight, lines, stuff like that, you know what I'm trying to say. Then you have the unique ability to watch movies without black bars at the top and bottom, which when working properly is fantastic, but getting movies in the native aspect ratio at high resolutions is not the easiest task in the world. I'm not super into film, so I couldn't really tell you where the best place to get 21:9 movies is, but Apple doesn't code black bars into their movies on iTunes, and I know that some Blu-ray releases don't code the black bars in either. It's the same way with a lot of online content as well. Some YouTube videos and trailers will work and some won't, but for everyone that uses Netflix, there's a Google Chrome extension that will crop out the black bars. The prevailing theme with all of this film content is that most of it isn't very high in resolution, making it look kind of bad on a 1440p screen. Once 4K stuff starts becoming a little bit more commonplace, especially in streaming, this might be less of a problem, but for now a great movie experience is possible, but kind of a lot of work to achieve. The reason I wanted this monitor in particular was because of the 100 Hz, plain and simple. I always thought ultrawide was cool from the first time I saw it, but I cannot deal with a 60 Hz monitor, especially when I'm going to use it with an overkill PC. The monitor I was using before this one was 144 Hz, and well, I can tell the difference between 100 and 144. The good news is that it took me all of a day or two to completely adjust to 100 Hz, and now I'm just fine with it. And for most people, 100 Hz is going to be a huge upgrade, especially if you're coming from a 60 Hz panel. The difference is night and day. The reason that it is 100 Hz is because that is the literal limit that DisplayPort can handle as of now. So it might be some time before we see monitors at this resolution that are 144 Hz. But for now, 100 Hz is completely acceptable. The monitor doesn't come out of the box at 100 Hz though. Acer achieved this by adding in an overclocking feature to the on-screen display that uses the Gsync module to somehow push it to 100 Hz. Because of this, many people have gotten their X34s only to have them not be stable at 100 Hz and have to go down to 95 or 90 to avoid flickering. Then there's the people that have coil whine at 100 Hz. Thankfully, my unit doesn't have either of these problems, and those issues seem to have been fixed as of 2016, meaning that all new X34s shouldn't have this problem. I'm only mentioning this because it is something that buyers should know. Be sure to check the date of production if you do buy one of these. The other big issue that the X34 can have is backlight bleed, which is quite characteristic of an IPS panel. It seems that everyone's X34 has backlight bleed to some degree. If you look at these shots of mine, you can see that it's only really noticeable in the upper left-hand corner, and even then it has to be on a completely black screen to be visible. When it's just a dark scene, it's really not bothering me that much at all. If you do get one of these, you are definitely going to have some degree of this backlight bleed phenomenon, and you'll have to make the decision for yourself whether your specific monitor has it to a tolerable degree, or if you need to send it back, get it replaced. Of course, the reason you would buy this monitor in particular over another 21x9 option is for gaming, and wow, playing games on this thing is a treat to say the least. A surprising amount of games actually support 21x9 out of the box, and even some of the ones that don't or that have issues can be fixed with flawless widescreen. Even though my hatred of the new Star Wars Battlefront was somewhat of a catalyst for me making videos, the one thing that game had going for it was good looks and good optimization, and as you can see, that shines incredibly well on the X34. Grand Theft Auto 5 is another game that is vastly improved as well. I waited a while to do this review because I wanted to play through a brand new game on this monitor, and that game ended up being the new Doom, which actually utilized the three main features of this monitor quite well. Immersion was greatly enhanced by the extra width, the speedy FPS combat felt very smooth at 100Hz, and Nvidia Gsync allowed me to not worry about limiting the frame rate or using vertical sync. Since Doom is a newer, more demanding game, I wasn't always getting 100 frames per second. My frame rate would fluctuate between 75 and 100 quite frequently, which would have been unplayable on a non-G-Sync monitor. I've never even looked at a G-Sync monitor in real life before getting this one, and I was shocked by how noticeable the difference was. G-Sync is so phenomenally good and smooth that it makes playing games with it disabled feel laggy and unresponsive in comparison. It's extra useful at this resolution as well because it's doubtful that most people will be able to play AAA games at 3440 by 1440 and lock them at 100 frames. But with G-Sync, you can just automatically get the best performance that your GPU is capable of outputting. It takes a few extra steps of thought out of the equation, which is much appreciated wherever I can find it while playing on PC. So, would I recommend this monitor? Yes, absolutely. If your main focus game-wise is single-player games or highly polished AAA stuff, then you are the target audience for this monitor. If you're that guy that plays Counter-Strike Global Offensive 80% of the time, then you might want to steer clear of this monitor. I'm a decent CSGO player, and coming from a 144Hz screen to this has made me noticeably worse at the game. Any sort of serious competitive game will be far more benefited by a higher refresh rate than it would be by ultra-wide. You'll also need a pretty beefy computer to run this thing. I've been having great results with a single 980 Ti, which was sort of the recommended card back when I got this monitor. Luckily for you, the 1080 and 1070 are now out, and the 1070 in particular is actually a little more powerful than the 980 Ti and costs less than $500, making this whole setup a little less costly than it previously was. The Acer X34 Predator is about as good as it gets, and it has absolutely transformed my PC into something far greater than it was before.